Hey y'all. So I wanted to do a Mercury retrograde reading, but I wanted to make it fun because the energy is so heavy. And I also wanted you guys to, be engaged and use your own intuition in the process. So I did a pick a card. If you haven't already, I picked 3 cards from the Work Your Light Oracle deck. And so 1, 2, or 3. You can go back to the post, pause now if you want to feel the energy of the cards, see which one you think is going to resonate most for you. Pick more than one. So, to be honest, I didn't pick a card for myself. The bottom of the deck is how I knew that this message was powerful and that it was for me as well as for the collective and all of you tuning in. And the bottom of the deck was Unbound. And underneath that was Say Yes. And so really this is about us saying yes to becoming freer, saying yes to unraveling so much of what has been keeping us, for me, playing small, but also repeating family behaviors, repeating and playing out cycles over and over again. So on the bottom, it says releasing soul patterns, contracts, and past lives. And I've been doing so much healing around ancestral wounds, trauma, and for my family and for my bloodline. And it's coming to a point, I feel, of freedom. So this Mercury retrograde wants us to get unbound. And how though, right? Like, what do we need to do? What do we need to lean into? And what do we need to embrace? And that's where these 3 cards come in. So the first card, we got the Star Mother. And the question on the bottom is, how can you mother yourself? And I'm talking about this all of the time because it was one of the ways that I was able to really love myself back into a connection to spirit, to realize and to see the divine as feminine was something that really helped me. So over the next few weeks, really leaning into self-care, and not just on the physical level. That's all important. Taking care of your body, eating well, resting, moisturizing, kind of a lot of the things that I talked about as far as self-care are concerned on the podcast, but also this feels like a coming into an awareness of your divinity through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, through the eyes of Mother God principle, and holding yourself and viewing yourself as being birthed from this divine energy so that you can recognize its presence in your own life. So mothering yourself, leaning into the wounds you may have with your mother, the relationship, whether it is healthy or not, if it's salvageable, how can you start repairing it? If it's not about reconciliation with your mother, more so, how do you tend to the wounds from that relationship? What's left to be unhealed? So this is number 1. This is the message for card number 1. Now, card number 2, you got the Akasha. And it says your guidance is divinely guided. This message really, for you guys that pick number 2, is about understanding that time is a construct and that you are multidimensional. And if you realized the vastness of your existence and how powerful you were, or how powerful your soul is, what would you do differently? She's going up this pathway and kind of leaving behind this unawakened state into an existence that has more color, that has more vigor, that has more vibrancy. And so the call really is for you to wake up and out of this zombie-like state and into your awakening. not allowing life to happen to you and realizing how much control you have of your spiritual path, of what many would call your ascension, but also into your out of a death state. It is a call for you to reclaim your power and to realize that the existence that you dream of is already real. And it's really asking you to shift on a soul level and on a spiritual level into this world instead of this one. And I actually want to pull another card. What will help in this process of this awakening process during Mercury retrograde? 5 of Cups. This is about sadness and grief, but it's also about prioritizing yourself and your soul over the hurt and the pain from the previous life lessons or failed friendships, failed relationships. So this is, to me, for card number 2, this is about self-preservation and prioritizing self-preservation above all, because a lot of what you're holding on to is keeping you in a state of, I want to say despair, despondency, but also it's like having a cloud over you and letting life happen to you. So lean into the grief over the next 6 weeks. It feels like a lot of people and the presence of the past hurt and the pain are going to come up for your review, but your perspective is going to be shifted entirely because you're longing to be in this place and not here. And so it will not have the same power over you, but it is important to be honest about how that pain and how those losses and how those mistakes affected you. Okay, so number 3, we got the warrior woman. And as soon as I saw it, I just knew that this is like a sword of truth. It is a sword of discernment. It is about being honest with yourself. And the bottom, it says, if you weren't afraid, what would you do? And this really is about cutting the shit. It's about being honest with yourself about what needs to be done, who needs to go, what you need to do. And it's about execution. So for those of you who pick number 3, there is tasks that need to be done. There are things that if you were honest with yourself, you could have done a long time ago, but you put off because of fear. And so right now, over the next 6 weeks, Mercury retrograde is going to bring those projects back to you for completion, or not even completion, beginning. This is you holding now and empowering yourself with action, whether that's through the power of your word, speaking things into existence, also commanding yourself, being the commander and the ruler of the tools that you have, and putting those things to action to fight on your behalf. So whether that's spreading the word about your products and services, spreading the word, or making a bold declaration and statement about who you are and what you desire to be, even if it's just to yourself, even if it's just to a diary, it's completely changing the direction of your life through the power of honesty, through the power of action. But the honesty piece is very big here because you have to accept the ways you haven't acted, okay, up until now. So we're getting unbound. This is your Mercury retrograde message. Stay tuned for the new moon messages that will be posted on Sunday on the new moon, okay? I love you guys. Visit theoverflow.com as well to get your full February messages if you want further insight into how this season is going to play out, okay? Love you.